Hello YouTube! This is just another guy talking about stuff, back with the ongoing series that examines episode by episode the greatest television series ever made, Community. Now of course, when I say that Community is the greatest show ever made, that is obviously a subjective statement. I can fully admit that I'm biased when it comes to this show. I'm just glad to know that I'm not the only one that is. If you're watching this video, I'm sure you're aware of how much the Community fanbase loves this series. I think the episode we're looking at in this video is a great example of why the Community fanbase loves this series the way it does. Ultimately, every story is about its characters. Community is about how its characters are flawed and sometimes outright morally broken, but also how their interactions with each other can make them better people. It helps the audience root for these characters, no matter how bad they can sometimes be. That connection the characters make with the audience is what helps to make this series so memorable to its fanbase. That connection is what makes the events in this episode memorable, despite the episode itself perhaps not being one of the standouts. As an audience, we've only been with these characters for a short time. But these characters themselves have only been with each other for a short time. We're all learning together. So that being said, let's take a look at those memorable moments in the 10th episode of Season 1, Environmental Science. Environmental Science debuted on Thursday, November 19th, 2009 at 8 p.m. to 4.86 million viewers, the lowest viewership up until this point. It was part of NBC's Green Week, where shows were mandated to include some environmental theme. For those of you that think woke capitalism is a new phenomenon, this policy began all the way back in 2007. The show uses it to make a joke about the dean wasting resources reprinting 5,000 posters he made that changed the name of the school to Envirodale for Green Week, when Starburns points out that the name of the school is already Greendale. In order to win over the crowd, the dean announces that Green Day will be performing at the school. Of course, we will later learn that this is not the more well-known Green Day, but an Irish folk band that shares the name. I did want to mention something that show creator Dan Harmon says in the DVD commentary about a line that got cut about corporations lecturing the public about environmentalism, when most of the damage done to the environment is done by corporations. It's been over a decade since this episode aired, and it doesn't seem like much has changed. Speaking of Chang, in Spanish class, Senior Chang is being especially abusive to his students, and the study group turns to Jeff to do something about it. After some coercion from the group, he meets with Chang in order to get him to lighten up. Noticing some clues that Chang's wife has left him, Jeff is able to lift his spirits by inviting him to hang out for the night. This does get Chang to excuse the extra work he assigned, but only for Jeff. Jeff, being Jeff, realizes this is good enough for him and tells the group that he tried, but ultimately failed. Eventually, the group catch on to his ruse after Chang tells the class that Winger turned his homework assignment in early, something that Jeff would never do. Chang also doubles down on his Jeff dependency when he threatens to fail him if he catches Jeff hanging out with other teachers. Meanwhile, the extra pressure from Spanish class causes Shirley to actually accept Pierce's help with her public speaking class. So far in the series, much of Pierce's racism and misogyny has been directed towards Shirley. Of course, this doesn't change, causing Shirley to become frustrated with Pierce, choosing to just read off her note cards during her presentation. Troy and Abed have to work together in biology lab where they are tasked to get a rat to respond to song. Unfortunately, Troy has an intense phobia of the rodent, and an accident causes their lab rat, Feifel, to be released, and it's up to the pair to find the animal. Tension arises when we are reminded of Troy's past as a self-centered jock, as he uses his insecurity to paint his relationship with Abed as a one-sided friendship, leaving Abed to find Feifel by himself. Feifel, of course, is named after the mouse in the Don Bluth 80s animated classic An American Tail, and its famous song, Somewhere Out There, plays an important role in the finale of this episode. Senior Chang arrives to the Green Week dance at Jeff's request to find his wife waiting there to dance with him. Turns out that Jeff recognized how bad Chang's mental state has deteriorated without her and invited her to the dance to reunite with her husband. Abed, singing in the hallway hoping that it draws out the lost rat, is joined by Troy, who has realized the fault in the way he fused their friendship. This all culminates with, in my opinion, one of the best scenes in the entire series, as the Irish folk band music melds with Abed and Troy's rendition of the classic song, Somewhere Out There, and we get a montage of all the plots wrapping up. Chang dances with his wife, reminding her of why she fell in love with her husband, rekindling their romance. Thanks to support from Pierce, Shirley gains the confidence to finish her presentation after the teacher forbids her to use her note cards. She even uses some of Pierce's advice to help her presentation stand out. It shows that while Pierce may be stuck in his, let's say, old-fashioned ways, he does care about people and can be helpful when given the opportunity. It also allows the two characters to have a little bond after the way Pierce has treated Shirley in previous episodes. Troy and Abed also get to bond after Pfeiffer responds to their song, crawling up a frightened Troy's leg, allowing him to return to his cage. Back at the dance, Chang gets on the microphone to apologize for the way he treated his class and excuses the extra work he assigned to the delight of the study group. They forgive Jeff for his prior selfishness as the episode ends with the group enjoying the dance. At the beginning of this video, I said that environmental science isn't one of the series' standout episodes. The episode was a little too packed to really explore all the stories that were trying to be told here. It causes the third act to wrap up conflicts with seemingly little motivation to do so. Troy rejoins Abed after their fallout in a very touching way, but there didn't seem to be any reason for his change of heart. The same goes for Shirley giving her presentation about brownies. She stumbles through the beginning of the speech, but sees Pierce in the audience reminding her of his advice, and she's able to turn things around. The episode really doesn't explore the relationship between Chang and his wife. We can understand anyone becoming frustrated with him knowing what we know about Senior Chang. His wife simply shows up to the dance, they have a very lively dance together, and Chang realizes the error of his ways. It was nice to give Chang his day in the spotlight. He of course would become a much larger part of the show as the series moves on. However, it did have the effect of pushing characters to the side for this episode. This time around, it's Britta and Annie that get pushed out and don't have much to do. While this episode on the whole might not be one of the best, it does contain one of the best moments in the entire series when Troy and Abed reunite singing Somewhere Out There in order to find Feifel, and how they melded that song with the Irish folk music to create a backdrop for a montage of plots wrapping up. It's a good example of how Community can create memorable moments, even in episodes that might not be very memorable otherwise. What did you think about environmental science? Do you agree that this isn't one of the stronger episodes, or is this one of your favorites? Let me know what you think in the comments. While you're at it, don't forget to give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps out, and I would truly appreciate it. So until next time, witty sign-off catchphrase.